been a 2-week fest of football bonanza, both on the field and off the field. But more importantly, this episode is about a very sensitive topic, which is remembering the AFCON ancestors. Why this episode? Well, I hope this episode of Adesoji Speaks Knowledge will help spark a conversation around the welfare and the remembrance of those who previously gave us such wonderful memories on the field of play. And it's not far-fetched to think that this competition that started on February 10, 1957, following the actions of 4 countries, namely Egypt, Ethiopia, Sudan, and South Africa, would lay the foundation for a competition that is now celebrated the world over, more importantly in the continent of Africa. A brief history, therefore, is necessary. AFCON is a biennial competition which brings together the talents and, shall we say, the exuberance of fans on the stands, or in the stands, shall I say. Again, started the 10th of February 1957 in Sudan. Of the 4 pioneering members, only 3 took part in the inaugural competition, the 3 being Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan. For South Africa will be barred from joining the first because they refuse, in line with the apartheid policy of sending a multiracial team to the competition. Fast forward. We're now from 3 teams in 1957. The competition has grown steadily to a situation where now we have 24 teams competing in the competition. 24 teams, 24 different styles, 24 different fans. And every time these players take the field of play, we're not but enamored about what they bring to the football pitch. Because not only do they bring an exuberance, they also bring, how shall I put it? They also bring something unique to their area that is the region within the continent. If a team in West Africa turns up, the flair is there. When a team from North Africa turns up, they bring in all the street craft and what have you. And it is just a joy to watch. It is a joy to watch. So this episode particularly is about highlighting some of those players who have given us those memories. Because I feel, for some reason, we seem to have forgotten. And I can't possibly put it down to the reason why we will do so. I know it's not a lack of pride in African football in history. I am, however, thinking along the lines of our lack of record keeping. Because in researching for this particular program, I struggle to find tapes of what has gone before in order to record the antics of these players. But again, we're talking memories now. So it's probably important that I share what my first memory of the competition was, the 1984 tournament, coincidentally hosted in Côte d'Ivoire. Highlights of which was the first game involving Nigeria and its perennial arch rival, Ghana. the game would, end. At that time, we still had a decent team. Being Nigeria. The game will end 2-1 with goals from Henry Nwosu and Chibuzo. Ghana will get one back through Sam Poku. I mean, the next match, again, I remember, was all sweat because we played against the Malawi national team. It ended 2-2 draw. And with goals again by Clement Temile. Those who are probably watching now, probably like, who's that? But again, this is all what we're talking about. Nigeria will end up in the final, but would lose again to another one of its arch nemesis in the body of Cameroon by 1-3. Again, yes, we lost, but you still remember. Speaking of memories, my best tournaments, in my opinion, that is, remains Morocco 88. Why Morocco 88? Wow. Every game there was a football bonanza. Being a 1-1 draw between Côte d'Ivoire and Zaire, with goals from Abdoulaye Traoré and the bullet shot from Kabongo Ngoe. Or the first group game between Nigeria and Cameroon, which ended in a 1-1 draw, especially with the bullet goal from Sam Okwaraji, one of the ancestors we shall highlight in the course of this program. And then, how can I possibly forget that crazy semi-final between Nigeria and Algeria? Oh, that professional foul, which will ultimately level up the teams and ended up in 22 penalty kicks. Yes, 22 penalty kicks. That game was, ultimately Nigeria gets to the final again. There I say, yes, we faced our nemesis again, Cameroon. Lost 1-0 this time. Suppose we're getting better. But I need to mention the fact that Nigeria also had the disallowed goal in that final. Goal from, which I consider was a goal, from Henry Nwosu's header. But, some of the conspiracy theories was the fact that Issa Hayatu, himself a Cameroonian, was watching the game. But, shenanigans aside, the competition has given us the likes of Austin J.J. Okocha, as some people will say. He was so good he had to be named twice. Abedi Pelé, the Ghanaian maestro. Yusuf Fofana from Côte d'Ivoire. Rabamaja from Algeria. Mustafa Haji from Morocco. Lagdal Belloumi from Algeria. Roger Mila from Cameroon. Titi Kamara of Guinea. Oh my God, the names. These are legends. Lucas Radebe of South Africa. I could keep on going. Cyril Makanaki of Cameroon. Thomas Nkono of Cameroon. Kabongo Ngoe from Zaire, now renamed Democratic Republic of Congo. Kalusha Bwaya of Zambia. The Hossam Hassan brothers of Egypt. Antoine Bell. Yeah, Cameroon's Antoine Bell. Cameroon was so good, they had two brilliant goalkeepers. Anthony Yeboah. Well, Leeds fans in England would remember him. George Weah. Yes. former Liberian president George Weah, yes, did play football. Was one of the world's best. In fact, at some time he was considered the best player in the world. Ibrahim Ba of Sierra Leone. Emmanuel Amuneke, who would go on to coach the under 17 and under 20 team, and also the Tanzania national team. To name a few. These players gave us memories. They gave the African football game a whole different flavor. And yes, some people will hear the passion in my voice. It's because watching these guys, they did what football experts will say, African football experts will say, anytime the tournament comes around, the tactical element of the game goes on holiday. Because it was tricks, flares, movements. Oh my God. I mean, if you watch any of the games at the moment, you will see a semblance of that. But what was also very important was that AFCON afforded the continent the chance to constantly renew the friendship, unity, and solidarity amongst the people. And we should not forget that. So it is important that we remember our football ancestors. I repeat, it is important that we remember our football ancestors. For they gave us cherished football memories on the African stage. And it's important that we remember, though that they now work with our other ancestors, other African ancestors, they are never forgotten. For they left behind a legacy of joy and inspiration. So today I want to celebrate some of these fallen heroes who gave their all, not just for their country, but for the beautiful game in Africa. I wish to honor their memories and celebrate their achievements, but also to reflect on their contribution to African football. Well, football is often considered a team sport. Nowhere was this element of the game more embodied. The unfortunate tragedy that happened, heartbreaking tragedy that is, in the history of African football, with the 1993 airplane crash of the entire Zambian national team. Even the recapping is painful to bear, because when the news broke, everybody was in shock. Because I remember that day, on the evening of April 27, 1993, when it was reported that a Zambian Air Force plane carrying the Zambian national football team, known as the Chipolopolo, or the Copper Bullets, had crashed into the Atlantic Ocean shortly after taking off from Libreville, Gabon, on its way for a World Cup qualifier in Senegal. When the news broke, people hoped that there would be survivors, or that it was a minor mishap. But later it will be confirmed that all 25 passengers and 5 crew members were killed. The Chipolopolo were a very promising team who had impressed the African continent at the 1990 AFCON, African Cup of Nations that is. where they had finished third. The team at the time was led by their star player, Kalusha Buaya, who happened to have been voted 1988 African Footballer of the Year. Kalusha Buaya was not on the plane, as he was still playing for his club, PSV Eindhoven, in Netherlands at the time, and had promised to join his team in Senegal once his game with PSV was over. The plane crash was a jolt and a terrible loss, not just for Zambia, but for the whole African continent, because following the announcements, the entire African continent mourned these footballing heroes with Zambia. The African football community also came together, to express their solidarity and condolences. They also offered their support materially, financially, to the Zambian Football Association. However, what was beautiful about the Zambian football spirit was that it did not die with a crash. The country quickly rebuilt a team with Kalusha Buaya as leader, and also with the volunteered help of Ronald Paulsen, who volunteered to help take charge of the team's training and what have you. Like the rising sun, the new Chipol Polo defied all odds and expectation, and not only qualified for the 1994 AFCON held in Tunisia, but would reach the final, narrowly losing 1-2 to Nigeria. That resilient display and determination in the 1994 AFCON tournament stirred the hearts and gained them the admiration of many observers and fans across the world. They in turn dedicated their campaign to their fallen heroes, citing the fact that their performance was inspired by those who have sacrificed everything. Again, football in Africa would show itself not to be just about what was happening on the pitch, but more importantly, off it. However, 19 years later, that is 2012, Zambia will finally achieve their dream of winning the African Cup of Nations in a remarkable and symbolic way. One, they will defeat Côte d'Ivoire in the final, held in Libreville, Gabon. The same city, yes, the same city where the plane crash had occurred 19 years prior. It gets even better. The trophy was won on the 12th of February, 2012. 12th of February being the birthday of their late coach, Geoffrey Chitalu, who was amongst the victims of the crash. One wonders why a movie has not been made of this. I'll probably be out there. The Zambian players and fans dedicated their victory to the 1993 team, celebrating with tears of joy. He will also visit the crash site to lay wreaths and pray for the souls of their departed comrades. Again, as we say, as the day rises, the sun also sets. The victory in Gabon represents the sunsets, a moment of closure and redemption for Zambian football, and a fitting tribute to the legacy of the 1993 team. And so, in line with this program, the story of the 1993 Zambian national team, although tragic, is one of true inspiration in the history of African football. It teaches us to cherish our loved ones and to always honor the memories of those who have gone before. May their soul rest in perfect peace. It is in this spirit of remembrance that I also wish to speak out the names of the following footballing giants and to say Adukwe, thank you in Yoruba. The names should echo in history. Let's begin. Mark Vivian Foy, Albert Boyce, Chick Tieto, Stephen Keshi, Samuel Okwaraji, Mudashiru Lawal, Lauren Poku, Joshua Nsofa, Uche Okafo, Papa Buba Diop, Salif Keita, Thomas Oliha, Nabilaye Kamara, George Weah, Thompson Oliha, Tilofio Abega, Jules Bokande, Ben Idrissa Deame, Raphael Duamena, and last but not the least, Rashid Yakini. What I would ask everyone to do is also to add more names to the lists so that we keep growing this list. Again, may their souls rest in perfect peace and may their legacy continue to live on. Hopefully, this conversation of celebrating, commemorating, remembering, that's the key word here, remembering and celebrating the lives and achievements of not just these fallen African football giants, but those that are still here. Let us pause to reflect on the welfare of those still around. Let us give them their flowers while they can still smell it. So we don't just celebrate them when they die, but celebrate them. Well, these are just some of the footballers that have lost their lives in relation to AFCON. I am sure there are many more who have died due to accidents, illness, in worst case violence. I say they are all remembered and honored by the African football family, and their contribution to the beautiful game in Africa are never forgotten. Finally, I would say thank you for listening. This is Adesoji, and this has been Adesoji Speaks Knowledge. Thank you for listening, and until next time, stay safe, stay blessed.